He thought he could do anything. Drunk, arrogant, and convinced that his money made him the king of the world, the tourist wedged himself next to the royal guardsman, had the audacity to shove him, and then went even further, grabbing hold of the iconic bearskin hat. The crowd held its breath. No one had ever dared to take it this far. London. Among the crowd of tourists, one man stood out, a massive guy with a huge belly spilling over his belt and a face as red as a boiled lobster. He could barely stay on his feet, swaying from side to side like a ship in a storm. The stench coming off him was unbearable. People around wrinkled their noses and stepped away, trying to escape the blast radius. The alcohol fumes were so thick it seemed like you could light them on fire with a match. The tourist, let's call him Frank, let out a loud belch, drawing attention to himself. He smirked when he spotted the motionless, statue-like guardsman in his red tunic and towering bearskin hat. "Ha! You look ridiculous, buddy," he slurred, stumbling slightly. "Why are you just standing there like a damn mannequin? Maybe you need some company?" Frank struggled to focus his vision, but he decided it was a brilliant idea. He waddled forward, slapped his belly, and with a grunt, squeezed himself into position right next to the guardsman. A gasp rippled through the crowd. No one could believe someone was this brazen. Frank smirked and tried to mimic the guardsman's stillness, but his drunken body refused to cooperate. He swayed, wobbled, nearly toppled over, but kept making goofy faces. "Hey, what if I become a guardsman too, huh?" He turned dramatically toward the crowd, puffing out his chest. "Welcome to London. I'm your new royal guard." His voice was obnoxiously loud, but that wasn't enough for him. Frank spun back toward the real guardsman and shoved him hard on the shoulder. A collective gasp echoed through the square. The tension was palpable. The guardsman stood firm, barely budging, but for the first time his hand twitched. Things were heating up. Frank burst into laughter. "Oh ho! Tough guy, huh? But I'm a paying tourist. Do you know how much I spent on this trip? You're supposed to entertain me." But Frank didn't know when to stop. His booze-soaked brain thought the show was just getting started. Out of nowhere, he grabbed the edge of the guardsman's bearskin hat and yanked, trying to pull it off. The crowd gasped in horror. And then, for the first time during this entire farce, a firm voice rang out. "Step back immediately!" Frank froze, his drunken eyes widening. The guardsman took a step forward. Tall, imposing, his face like stone, he stared directly at the troublemaker. Frank instinctively staggered back, but then from somewhere in the crowd, "Record this! Get it on video!" Someone was already live streaming the scene. The guardsman repeated, his voice like steel. "Return behind the white line." Frank hesitated, stunned. The entire square was watching him with disgust. Somewhere behind him, someone muttered, "What an embarrassment." And then, his stomach let out a traitorous growl. All the beer, whiskey, greasy food, it all hit him at once. His face twisted in agony. "Oh, shit." He took a clumsy step back, but his legs failed him. He tripped, flailed his arms, and, splat, landed face first in a filthy puddle near the curb. The crowd erupted in laughter. Cameras kept rolling. Within hours, a video titled, "Drunk Tourist Tries to Mess with the Royal Guard and Gets What He Deserves," went viral. And the guardsman? He simply adjusted his hat and resumed his perfect stance. British tradition remained unshaken. Frank's dignity, however, did not.